Hello guys, welcome to the video. This is yet another video on indexing. So to start off with, we will cover some more basics around cluster index in the indexing series. So I will use AdventureWorks 22 database. I am creating a sample table called SQL curve out of sales order details. I am inserting some records into it. Here we'll actually focus on the scenario as to how does primary key actually is related to cluster index. The basic premise is if there is no cluster index on an existing table on which we are creating a primary key, then the primary key will actually create a cluster index. But if the base table already has a cluster index on some column and we create a primary key on top of it, the primary key will be created as a non-cluster index. So we'll test some scenarios around it. Currently, this is the table I have. Let me refresh the objects. There is so basically this is the object I have. There is no indexes. So I'm creating a primary key on sales order details in ascending order, and this is the name I'm giving to the constraint, and this is our table. So if I create a primary key on a table which doesn't has any cluster index already created on it, the primary key would actually be created and we will get a cluster index. So basically the primary key would influence the creation of a cluster index. If you see over here, we have got a PK SQL curve. It's a cluster index, and we also have the primary key because we actually were dealing with this particular constraint. So this particular key created a cluster index. So this is one scenario in which the key was not existing. So we actually went to this particular location. We confirmed this. Now we are dropping that particular primary key cluster index. So now the key is gone and the index is also gone. Now let's create a non-cluster index. Now in this case, we are creating a primary key, but we are specifying a non-cluster index. So that what it will do is it will create a non-cluster index based on the primary key. But the base table is still a heap. So just to confirm that, I will actually just run this query. Because this non-cluster index was created on sales order details ID, I will actually create a where clause so that we can see some reference to the non-cluster index. And because the base table SQL curve is a heap, we would actually do a row lookup, RID lookup, because the carrier tracking table is in the base table or in the heap table. So I've used the actual execution plan over here. If you can take a note of it, the index seek happened because we had a non-cluster index on the sales order details. That's where the where clause was actually helping us. So in the seek predicate, you can see that there was actually some scalar operators which were constants. So once we got the output as these two rows, sales order details and sales order ID, we actually have to go to the base table to get the carrier tracking number for those particular IDs that we got from the index seek on the non-cluster index. So over here you can see the seek predicate was actually the reference that we got from the leaf page of the non-cluster index, and then we went to the main page to get the carrier tracking number. So this is a small example of how a non-cluster index may have to go to the base index or the base table. Either it could be a cluster table or cluster index on a base table, or it could be a heap table where no cluster index or no sorting of any nature exists. So the table there could be like a table scan that we may see. Moving on, primary key automatically creates non-cluster index. So now we would actually drop this particular constraint, which actually is this one, where we have a non-cluster index, because we specified the creation of non-cluster index with the primary key. Now we would actually create a cluster index, which is we don't specify anything related to primary key. We are just creating a cluster index on sales order ID and carrier tracking, and we would create this over here. So the key is gone because we dropped that particular thing, and we now purely have a cluster index which is based on these two columns, and this is on the SQL curve table. Now if we try to create a primary key. As per the original discussion, what we said is the primary key would actually create a cluster index if there is no cluster index on the base table. But in this case, we already manually created a cluster index. So this particular primary key would actually turn into a non-cluster index, or would actually influence the creation of non-cluster index. Over here, if we come, we can see that this particular index is created, which is based on a primary key, and this is the primary key we got, and this is the corresponding non-cluster index, and we have verified from this particular location. So this was a small video related to relationship between primary key and cluster index. We will continue further discussion around clusters, maintenance of clusters, and how optimization of cluster index can help better completion of execution times in our queries. So hopefully you would consider subscribing this channel. This is a new channel. Please support and subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video. Thank you.